Greetings and welcome to Talk a Little, Learn a Lot, the American Society of Naval Engineers podcast. I am your host, Stephen Phillips. In this podcast, we talk a little and learn a lot about naval engineering while inspiring the next generation of STEM professionals. Today, I am joined by ASNE President Vice Admiral David Lewis to discuss the 2026 All Members Meeting to discuss the state of the society. This is becoming an annual for us. We did one last year. Vice Admiral Lewis, Dave, thanks for joining me as always. I look forward to our discussion.
Thanks for the invitation. Great opportunity to put the word out and then hopefully get some responses from listeners. I'd like that feedback.
The title of the 2026 annual report was Progress into Performance. What does this title suggest?
Well, this year, 2026, I guess, our year starts in July, so it's a little weird, but was supposed to be the year we performed. We'd worked through all the COVID stuff. We'd gotten everything sorted out. We had a reasonable schedule of things, and this time last year we were cooking with gas, getting ready to go into the first normal year for the society, really since sequestration and COVID. So it'd been a long time. And then the government imposed a bunch of travel bans, and all of a sudden that plan was out the window, and we were literally faced with canceling all of our symposia. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but we fought our way through that. Didn't do that because that would have been bad. So that makes 27 the upcoming year. That year that was supposed to be 26. So but we did stuff in 26 that we had planned to do. Actually, did better than we planned to do. So we made progress towards performance. So that's where that came from. Is we were planning on having a performance year, and we made progress towards performance. So we'll see how that goes. It seems like every year there's been something.
What thoughts would you like to share about the organization's 6 objectives for 2026?
I wasn't formal in that last year, so we kind of ex post facto. I think that's a word, isn't it? Yeah, sort of reconstructed them as we went along, and our principal one was to stop operating in the red. We've been operating at a loss for a while. We're a nonprofit, so we don't make profit, but we still have to make enough money to cover expenses. That's sort of basic. And we hadn't been doing that. So the first objective was to not operate in the red, return to profitable revenue growth. We had a few events where we broke even. So we weren't in the red, but we weren't, putting any money in the bank. We'd been on a steady loss vector for vectors. We've been going down consistently over time because we weren't having events because of COVID and all that stuff. So arrest the loss. And then the second part of that is to start to gain members. And then the key one was to expand our communication. We really, other than the journal and symposium, we really didn't have any. So this forum was the first effort to do that, and then we've added to that since then. And then we also wanted to reach out to other maritime societies. They're all having the same problem. We are all having the same problem. People don't go to symposium. People don't read magazines. So we were all struggling across the maritime spectrum. So I felt and Dale felt that it was appropriate to be reaching out and bringing people together. So that was a principal objective for this past year.
As you suggested, many connect with ASNE through our various symposia. I think this is one of our strengths. How did ASNE manage these in light of the government shutdown in 2026?
We delayed symposium. We had them scheduled, they were all set up, exhibitors, everything, hotels, catering, the whole 9 yards. And then when if there's no government people at our symposium, that's not a good thing. That's one of our missions: connect government with industry, with academia, and you need all three. And if one of them doesn't show up, they're not very useful, and so nobody else shows up. So we scrambled, and were able to work out arrangements because with hotels and caterers and exhibitors, sponsors, and all of that. And we slid all the events. We ended up having to conduct 3 major symposium in 6 weeks, I think. Tremendous amount of effort on everybody's part: industry, everybody, attendees, government, and then obviously our suppliers, hotels and caterers and all that. So we were able to muscle our way through that. Not a fun time. Superb effort by sections and volunteers and everybody to force fit all of that into something that worked. And we're able to execute our planned symposium, but it was on a sliding scale, I guess.
Right.
And we did lose some exhibitors and we lost some attendees. So we didn't do as well financially as we thought we would. We had planned to.
Hmm. How has the Naval Engineers Journal evolved in 2026?
Uh, Actually, really well. We had some pointy conversations amongst ourselves about what's in the journal. What do our members love the journal? Have for a long time. Um, but our not members, people who are not a member of Naval Engineer or ASNE and don't read the Naval Engineer Journal, don't like the journal because they don't read it. So we decided that was a content problem. People today, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and that's stuff like AI and additive manufacturing and advanced production and quantum computing and big data, machine learning, and all that. We didn't talk about that very much. So we have added to that content uh, in a way consistent with the Naval Engineers Journal, how we've done it before. Um, in my view, that's exactly why the society was founded in 1888. The Navy was confronted with new technologies of steel and cordite and high pressure steam and triple expansion engines and fire tube boilers, water tube boilers, and nobody knew how that worked. All that stuff worked. And we were founded to help the Navy figure that out by bringing industry and academia and the government together to work through that and create an environment where people could talk and understand and learn and muscle their way through the issues so that the Navy, excuse me, would have the advanced technologies it needed. And that happened. So today is no different than that. The words are different, but the concept's exactly the same. So the journal has done that this year. If you look at today's editions versus 12 or 24 months ago, much more content that's AI based, big data based, advanced manufacturing, and that sort of stuff. And so that's frankly been a high point of the year.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to talk about 2 of the articles in the most recent Naval Engineers Journal. First, the primary article, highlighted on the cover, was written by the Chief of Naval Operations. What did he write about, and what does it suggest about ASNE's role?
He wrote about what he had done as a student. Obviously, it's advanced since then. The key point is that the CNO is interested in technology, modern technology, advanced technology, and he put it in a warfighting context in the article. So it wasn't just you know wavelengths and that sort of stuff. It was how do you actually use this stuff here's the engineering and the science, but how do you actually use it? Uh, and so the messages were, this is important. This is important to the Chief of Naval Operations. It's important to the Naval Engineers Journal, and it's important to ASNE. So it advances a fourth industrial revolution topic in an operational uh, and engineering fashion. So that's what it says, and I think that's a powerful signal from the CNO. That's leadership. That's embodying leadership uh, from the front. Uh, that's important and that's inspirational, frankly. He's a longtime member, lifetime member, I think. So the message to the Navy community is this is a publication worth paying attention to and encouraging people to write for it. And that's, again, that's our purpose, is to encourage that discussion. We're not an advocate for this or that or something. It's more, hey, we're doing this. What do you think? I didn't know you did that. Hey, I need to come talk to you. Let's go talk. And that issue and that article in particular does that perfectly.
Indeed, and I hope to interview Admiral Caudill on the podcast to discuss the article in more detail. We're working that with Dale in the background. The other article that I'd like to highlight is Captain Galderisi's piece on artificial intelligence. Now, I did interview him for episode
I saw
54.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, this is not going to be our last discussion of AI, but I'd like to know, what does this suggest about ASNE and what we should be, doing as an organization as far as AI is concerned?
Um, there is there are certain technologies that come in industrial revolution. I'm having a mental blank on the term. It'll come to me in a minute. GPT, general purpose technologies, not the other GPT. And they are technologies which, when properly implemented, infuse across all technologies. So computers in the third industrial revolution were a GPT, a general purpose technology. And the nations that recognized that and accelerated computers into every aspect of their life, which is what the United States did. There's computers in your toaster. There's computers in my oven. My dishwasher sends me a report every month on how I'm doing. My children laugh at that. Um, and but well, and that correlates exactly to who is the world hegemon for political and military power. Uh, in the second industrial revolution, it was machine tools, precise precision machining. It's what it took to make internal combustion engines, turbines, steam turbines, airplanes, all that stuff. That infused across the whole industry. AI is my opinion, the GPT, the general purpose technology of the fourth industrial revolution. The nation that embraces that technology the most, and by the most, I mean the deepest in every aspect of life, uh, is the nation that will become or remain the global hegemon in the world. And that's us right now. I'd like it to be us later. Back to the third industrial revolution, Japan challenged the United States. You might, for those of us that were around then, in the 1980s, Japan was going to overtake the United States and computers and all that stuff and chip making and all that, if you remember any of that. And they didn't. And one of the principal reasons they didn't is computers did not penetrate as deeply into Japanese society as they did in the United States. So computers, like I said, were in everything, certainly in the military arena. And certainly I see that as core to success in the fourth industrial revolution. So I am an advocate for aggressive implementation of AI in everything. There are probably some areas where, okay, maybe you don't want to have an AI in your toaster. You don't want your toaster making your toast in the morning because that's the way you've made it for the last 6 weeks. So it's going to make it that way today. Um, okay, maybe not. Uh, but pretty much in everything else. That raises a lot of issues, particularly with AI. And that article, among many others, bring those up. AI is not a person. AI is not a sentient being. AI is a computer program. It runs code. But we like to anthropomorphize, is that the right word? Things like that. And we give it human characteristics which it does not have. And that can be a problem. So how that implementation is done matters. Where it's done matters. There's some sensitive areas where need to be careful about that. High consequence activities, and those are important things to work out, especially in the military world, where we put people in things that run around really, really fast and are very, very dangerous, and they blow up occasionally on purpose and occasionally not. And having AI in the middle of that is important, but also carries risks and requires new behaviors, and those need to be worked out. Uh, we don't know we don't know that stuff. We haven't done it yet. Uh, and so articles like that and others are really important because they raise issues, they create a discussion. Academia, industry, practitioners, and government then wrestle with that and have policies and inventions and engineering and science and research goes in certain places because of that important human interaction. And it's important we get AI right. I mean, for society and for the country and for the Navy. I worry about that a lot. I'd say half my reading is on that topic, at least. And so that makes it something that the society needs to pay attention to in a naval engineering context. Ship design, ship production, weapon systems design, those sorts of things. Lasers.
Yeah, indeed. It's a lot of my reading today, too, sir. Um, ASNE is now partnering with the Navy League. I think for many, this was the most interesting part of your talk, and it holds promise for both organizations. You characterize the notion that ASNE will become the Navy League's chief engineer. I really like that idea. So please describe the nature of this connection and how it benefits each organization and indeed ASNE members as individuals.
Well, I mean, what it does is it creates a partnership. ASNE members get a baseline Navy League membership. I don't think it's not reciprocal yet, but we're working on that. We're still working out there's only two societies in this partnership, us and the Mustang Association. So it's a new idea. Uh, I, what it gives us is access to the Navy League membership, 40,000 ish, or about 2,000 ish. So, that's a big boost for us. As I mentioned before, I'm worried about our not members. They're not members because they decided not to be members. They're not members because they don't know we exist. And within that not member community, I think there's a couple 100,000 not members, in the naval engineering business. The more we can show value to them of our work, which is really their work, then we will gain members, and that's good for them. It's good for us, and it's good for naval engineering. So the initial is sort of an initial agreement to swap mailing lists, if you will. I think I think I'm the only one talking about the chief engineer thing, but I mean, we are naval engineers, and the Navy League is not an engineering society, and I think we can bring relevant, timely, and cogent engineering topics to the Navy League membership and their audience outside of their membership, like AI, some of the issues associated with that, like advanced manufacturing, shipbuilding, production, distributed industrial base, the current topics, and explain those and talk about them in a way that is useful to a non-engineer, an operational person, a Navy advocate, which is a lot of the Navy League's role. And I think we can help them in that. In doing that, potentially attract some non-members to be members of ASNE. And then I think it will help our members understand the bigger Navy picture. Sometimes people get, really drilled in on their topic. I'm Mr. Feed Pump, or I'm the world's expert on, 1/4 inch of hydraulic lines, and
Right.
then maybe not realize the big picture, how those impact the Navy as a whole. So I think it's a intellectual expansion for us, and it brings real value to the Navy League in terms of engineering expertise and technology awareness.
During the talk, you said, I have never seen all of the maritime communities, Congress, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the MSC, industry. You've never seen them so alive. American maritime presence and a stronger maritime industry, unquote. You suggested this was similar to the time of the founding of the organization that you alluded to earlier. Will you reflect on these comments for the Talk a Little, Learn a Lot audience?
Sure. Through my time up till today, uh, there have always been fractious and confrontational discussions about Navy stuff, naval engineering. Ships are expensive, take a long time to build, advocate for them, but if you're a political appointee, you're gone before those ever show up. I mean, it's rare for a Secretary of the Navy to actually attend an event for a ship that they fought to get funded. I think Secretary Mavis did it. I think Secretary Lehman did it. Uh, Gideon Wells did it. Josephus Daniels did it. But that's not the normal case. And people want ships built in their districts, and if they're not, why should I worry about that? We're a maritime nation, but I think I would say, a large number of Americans don't realize that. Um, so it's unusual in my experience, and I only go back 45 years, 50 years, to see the administration and Congress and the Navy and frankly the public and industry all saying, hey, we need to restore our maritime industries and our maritime forces. That's unusual. Um, and the 1880s was not the first time, but the similar situation. The United States Navy was in a poor shape after the Civil War. Peace dividends were taken, and not much of a Navy, frankly, by 1881. And the public coalesced, a new administration came in, advocated for maritime. Uh, the public coalesced around it. Mahan wrote his book. Industry liked it because it brought them along in the second industrial revolution, which was happening at the same time. Probably not a coincidence. And that was a fairly unified approach, much like today. So this is a good time to be in the maritime industry. It's a good time to be in the Navy, frankly, I think. And it is a rising tide, and I have a perception that rising tides floats all boats, and we need to be one of those boats.
Naturally, you encouraged all members to recruit others. What are some of the ways that we can draw other people to our organization?
Used to put paper copies of the NEJ in the break room, in the coffee room. When I was involved in engineering meetings or something like that, I would talk about it. Um, Make sure that, events are advertised within, my social circles. I think that's how to do it. I think, since we have electronic NEJ now, digital NEJ, sending articles to people, hey, Bob, I think, I read this and I think it might be really interesting. You do that, don't you? Those sorts of things. Um, you know, bring a member, bring a non-member to a membership meeting. There's a cultural difference from 20, 30 years ago and today. I think a lot of new, younger employees they want to know how to advance in the field and don't and because of COVID and other things that they don't going to lunchtime things or evening things isn't it's not in the dance card. So doing that or finding out approach I prefer is what is in their dance card, and we'll go to that, whatever that is. And so that was the digital NEJ and that sort of stuff. And I think we offer opportunity to be published, uh, which is kind of cool, I think, and become a leader within your not within your I mean within your company certainly, but within your professional community. And today, people change companies pretty quickly. Seems like there's used to be you went work for somebody for 40 years. That was what you did. But if you're going to move between companies A, B, C, and D in the next 5 years, having a professional community is more important than it used to be because you're changing your doohickey. Oops, lost it. Every couple of years, but you're still a naval engineer. So how do you stay connected with the naval engineering community? We can do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how you get contacts for if you're feeling you need to be moving jobs or something. That's how you do that. I think the other thing is you get to meet senior leaders that you would not otherwise meet. If you're down there working in your cubicle doing whatever you do, uh, and the CTO shows up at a ASNE meeting or gives a presentation at an ASNE symposium, and you can walk up to him and say, "Hey, Bill, you know,
Yeah.
I work
Yeah.
for you 6 levels down, and let me
Yeah.
tell you my idea." Or you talked about that thing. Do you know I do that? And
Right.
that conversation, that ASNE symposium, ASNE meetings are the best place to do that. Senior leaders remember those engagements. Um, Having been one, I know that, and you don't get that in the normal course of business. So professional societies, whether it's ASNE or any other one, that's a thing we bring to the table that I think is valuable and important.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the Talk a Little, Learn a Lot audience?
Um, we've been through a rough patch. ASNE has been struggling. This is not. I mean, COVID didn't just do it. This is been going on for a decade. Like I said, all the societies are struggling. There has been a not joining social process going on. People don't like to do things like that anymore. Um, I've never been much of a joiner, but I did join ASNE in a couple other groups, Service Navy Association, a couple other ones. So there has been this trend, and COVID accelerated it. A few other things accelerated it. So here we are. So the decision for us as a society is, do we pack up shop and go do something else? Or is there still value in the society and what we do We decided that there is value, and we decided we're dealing with a different generation, a different mindset of naval engineers. It's a different community than it was 40, 50, 60 years ago. And we need to adapt to that. They are not going to come to us. We have to go to them. So this forum, we have a parallel forum, read a little, learn a lot. We have that's our blog. We have the digital NEJ, and we're absolutely exploring other avenues, and I'm open to how to do that. Very strong presence in the STEM community in colleges and high school. I think the study is seventh grade is when people decide not to be engineers anymore. I don't know why, but they do. So we've taken a pretty strong position in that, very active there to show people that this is cool, Lego kind of stuff and engineering experiments and building robots and stuff. So the desire is there. I think the general public maybe isn't aware of avenues to do that. Engineering is viewed as hard and all that stuff, and it is hard, but it's fun.
For sure.
I think we need to emphasize at that level. We are emphasizing the fun part more than the hard part. And I think going back to AI does a lot of the drudgery stuff. It does the hard part for you. I've been thinking along this line. It moves humans up the value chain of thinking. When I was in college, I had to type papers. I used a slide rule or a calculator, and I had to do math. 1 + 1 is 2, and maybe it might be 3. No, I don't remember. With AI, you don't need to do any of that anymore. And you still have to know what good looks like, but you can think more at a higher level. AI can maybe do a design of an electrical system. Now, your job as an engineer is it right? Does it work? Or a piping system? Can you run a pipe through a watertight door? No, you can't do that. Shouldn't be doing that. The human does that because we are human and we are sentient and we have knowledge. AI doesn't have those things. It does what it's told in a very complicated way, but it's a machine. And like any machine, if you know how to use it, it's very powerful. If you don't know how to do it, it's very destructive. A hammer has a lot of uses, many of which are good. There are some other ones. And it's up to the human, the engineer, to know that. And AI gives engineers, I think, very powerful tools, and they should understand that tool. They should understand its strengths and weaknesses and its limitations, and we can help with that. The schools can certainly do it, and they are, and they should. But as a practicing engineer, there is a type of knowledge which is implicit. It's again, I can't remember the term for it, but it is knowledge from doing. It takes 5 years to get 5 years of experience. You can't take a class in experience. You just have to do it. So you get the knowledge and then you do it. And that's where I think we shine as a community of practitioners. You do something, you go to the evening meeting and say, hey, Mary, I've got this problem. I can't figure out how to make the pipe not go through the watertight door. Have you got that problem? Oh, yeah, I had that last month. I fixed that problem. This is how I did it. That's a useful conversation, and it's not in a textbook anywhere. And people would be embarrassed to ask their boss that question. So you get it from Mary, you get it from Bill, you get it from Joe, and you become a better practitioner, and you've built that community of practice. I'll say that. That good enough?
Indeed. And so thank you, Vice Admiral Lewis, for taking time to discuss the state of the organization entitled in your report, Progress into Performance. And indeed, sir, I'm certain we will welcome you back again on Talk a Little, Learn a Lot, the podcast of the American Society of Naval Engineers.
Thank you very much. Take care.